Welcome to the Aisha Muhammad podcast. I am overjoyed that you have made the decision to join me and my special guest tonight. Before we start the live, please just take a listen. If I had told you at the beginning of this year that we would have been facing a pandemic by the name of COVID-19 that was going to turn this world upside down, you would have never believed it. The COVID Conquerors series on the Aisha Muhammad podcast. In this climate of fear, confusion, and suppression, I saw the need to create the COVID Conquerors podcast series. COVID Conquerors features phenomenal people who are, despite their challenges, thriving personally or in service to their community. COVID Conquerors airs live on Facebook and YouTube every other Thursday at 9 p.m. GMT, that's UK time, on the Aisha Muhammad podcast. This podcast aims to encourage, inspire, and empower you, to reassure you that in this time of uncertainty, should you look, you will see that there are great opportunities for you to thrive in aspects of your life, regardless to whom or what. It's time to start the live podcast where you'll meet this week's phenomenal guest. Let the countdown begin. 5. Welcome to the Aisha Muhammad podcast. This is the podcast series, COVID Conquerors, and it's something that I created during this pandemic to serve as a source of motivation and inspiration, and also to be able to have phenomenal people share their story. This is one of the key things that this series and platform is for. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Aisha Muhammad and I am a self-love coach and I'm based in the United Kingdom. And tonight I have a phenomenal woman with me. She's so very humble, but she is so very powerful. She has so many accomplishments. She is a life coach and she deals with the art of forgiveness among many other things. And she also is an entrepreneur, and she has, during this pandemic, created a thriving business by the name of Nanny Wraps. As you can see, we are wrapped out. I thought that we would come together to showcase some of her creativity. So let us put our hands together and welcome Audreia Josephs. How are you doing, Queen?
Greetings, my sister. Greetings, you beautiful Empress. Thank you for the invitation. I am truly humbled, and thank you for the introduction.
You are welcome. It's great to have you here. It really is. And before we go into the interview, I'd really like to ask that the audience share this live stream, okay? Share the podcast, because more people need to see it, to be touched by what it is that's going to come out of this interview today. There's someone out there that needs a word and some encouragement and some inspiration, and that is what we're here to do. So please do that, and also feel free to comment, and I'll put your comments up on the screen as we go along. Watch from the Aisha Muhammad podcast page if you can, but this is also streaming from my personal page, Aisha Muhammad, as well as over on YouTube on the Aisha Muhammad podcast. Okay, so let's get into it, Queen. How did Nanny Wraps come into existence? Can you tell us the story?
Whoa. Yeah, Nanny Wraps. Okay. Firstly, I'm a grandmother of 16. So
Wow.
I'm a superman. I'll
That
say
is
that.
amazing.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
superman.
goodness, 16.
Yeah, so Nanny Wraps. Okay, so one of my eldest grandchildren, Marley, when he used to come to visit, stay the weekends with me, he would always ask for stories. But this little boy didn't want regular stories. He wanted Nanny's imagination. So I had to conjure and create stories. And the stories that I created involved me and him, Nanny being the superhero. And so what happened in the summer,
Awesome.
yeah, in the summer of last year,
Mhm,
I there was a book group, and the book group was speaking about she wanted people to come on this group to turn your
mhm.
books into a business. Had
Wow.
no idea what that was, Dr. Ava Eagle Brown. And
Mhm.
she, yeah, yeah, you know her.
I
And
know her. Yes, I do.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, another
yeah, yeah,
mighty
great big
powerful woman
lady.
among us.
Yeah, yeah. And she was doing this book to business course. And
Mhm.
so I decided to go on this course. I hadn't written the book or anything, got on the course and wrote my first children's book based
Yeah.
on the stories that I used to tell my grandson. And um, trying to work out an idea. And I thought, well, the nanny in the book, she wears head wraps and head adornments. And I love head adornments. So obviously, she's going to be
Yes.
wearing head adornments. You know, it's always been something about me since I was young. I love head adornments, hats, caps, whatever. And
Mhm.
so what happened was Nanny Wraps was born, and the name came about due to Ava's son, because he
Okay.
called, I was going to call it Adventure Wraps or something else. And he said, why don't you just call it Nanny Wraps? So thank you, Mikkel Kai Brown. He gave
Oh, bless.
that name, Nanny
Creative.
Wraps. Yeah, yeah. So Nanny Wraps was born. Now I started off making regular head wraps because
Mhm.
that's what I loved wearing. I wore head wraps. But the thing about sewing, I need to start on the sewing part. When I was at
Okay, tell
school,
us.
when I was at school, my teachers were not very good back in the 70s, and they were a bit racist. So me going into a
Mm,
sewing class with a racist teacher who
mm,
really didn't want to teach us anything. So I didn't actually learn to sew for the whole period of my school journey.
mhm, mhm.
Fast forward, I became a mother of 3 boys. And at the time, I was attending church, and it was
Okay.
quite costly to get attire for my boys. Every week we had to be at church, and it was expensive. So what happened
Mm,
was I got the sisters, 2 sisters, one named Cindy and the other one called Yvette. They
mhm.
lived close by me, and I got a sewing machine, and they would come round every day and teach me how to sew. And I'm really grateful to those women.
Oh
I used to get
gosh,
the
that's
offcuts.
awesome.
Yeah, bless them. I used to get the
Sisterhood.
offcuts from men's suits. There was a market that would sell these fabrics, and so I was able to make my boys trousers and little
Mhm.
waistcoats, and started becoming creative. And these women were so patient with me, you know. And I'm also a lefty, a left hand, so it's a bit tricky to teach me anything. And
Mhm.
these women, they were just so amazing. They were so patient. They were as patient as, I would say, leaves on a tree. They were so patient with me. You know, I would
Mm,
not be, I'd just do things wrong, and they would just come and help me how to thread the machine and everything. Well, fast forward, so I've learned how to sew. And so over the
mhm.
years, I would just do bits and pieces, do my own little thing. but nothing too serious. I could make my own curtains.
Okay, that's good.
Moved
Hmm.
on with life. You know, I've always been creative and I've always been an entrepreneur. I started being an entrepreneur, I think, about the age of 3, where I was dancing to earn money. That was part of my
Oh wow.
entrepreneurial skill back in the 60s. Anyway, so I've
Yeah.
always had this creative thing about me. I loved art
Hmm.
and all of that. So yeah. So anyway, obviously now the lockdowns come. I've done this book, which my grandson is actually doing the illustrations for now, the same little boy who's going to be in the book as the character
Oh.
with his nanny. So he's doing the illustrations. And
Hmm.
I decided that, you know, the lockdowns come and my business has changed,
Hmm.
because I used to go out there speaking to young people, motivating, empowering them, working with people through prisons and what have you. But with the lockdown, everything's changed. My
Yeah.
income's changed. In fact, I
Hmm.
haven't got an income, not really, not much of one. And so thinking, yeah, so I've got this head wrap business. And
Hmm.
then the next thing that happened was someone ordered, that started getting a few orders, and someone ordered a head wrap, but they wanted it satin lined.
Yes. That's
And
good
I
for the
thought,
hair, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought, okay, satin lined. But then I had people keep saying stuff to me like, oh, could you teach me how to wrap my head? I don't know how to wrap my head. It's difficult how to wrap. You know, I learned how to wrap my head back in the
Hmm.
70s, you know, but it's not the easiest of things. So I looked online and initially I was going to start buying some head wrap things that were already made. And then I
Hmm.
thought, no, give it a go. So my sister-in-law ordered, she said, my friend and my sister-in-law, can you make satin bonnets? So I said, well, I've never made them before, but I'll give it a go. Got
Hmm.
online, learned how to do it, and created satin bonnets.
Oh wow. Let's have a look.
There you are.
Excellent.
Well,
Excellent. And they are good because this one's lined with satin as well,
right.
which is
Yeah,
very
this is what I want
protective.
people to know, that it might appear that we've got head wraps on, but they're actually
Mm,
satin bonnets. So they're three
that's
in
right.
one. So then what I did originally was I made it with fabric, which was like 110 inches long.
Mhm.
And so you could wrap that round. And
Yeah.
that was good. And people were enjoying that as well. That was another one of the nanny wraps. So that was another part of the collection. Then
Mhm.
my cousin invited me to her house and she said to me, oh, I got this thing in London. I wonder if you'd be able to replicate this for me. And I said, I don't know, but I'll try. So
Yeah.
she pulled the wire out. She showed me what it was like. And so what happened next was the wire wrap came.
Yeah.
This has got the
Yeah.
wiring, which you have, which I
That's
have on.
right. Yeah. And it's good because it can secure it quite
Yeah, yeah,
firmly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what it was just fabulous, because then you ended up with this
Hmm.
out of
Hmm.
these two things, which you have
Excellent.
on, which I have on, and so it's protecting your hair. And so
Yeah.
that's how Nanny Wrap was born.
Awesome. So
And
many
it's a
people have had to kind
three-in-one.
of pivot and they've had to rethink how they're going to maneuver during this time and being creative. Look what you've been able to come up with. And I think
Yeah.
it's so awesome that you're working alongside your grandson and how involved he is. It's always advisable to have a family business, and now generation to generation and working together. I think that is just so awesome. It's really beautiful, and it's a great example for us, as in how we can work together to be able to establish a family business. And it just came about so authentically as well, the storytelling and
Yeah.
stuff. That's really awesome. So you've kind of told us to a degree what the ethos is behind Nanny Wraps. But in your own word, tell us, what does it represent?
Well, you know what? I want every woman who puts one of these on to rock her crown. I want you
Hmm.
to know that your hair's protected and you rock
Hmm.
it found, but I not only do the head wraps, as you know, but we're
Mhm.
sporting the matching earrings as well.
Exactly. My
One,
special gift. Thank you so
I,
much. It's a
oh,
beautiful.
you're
Yeah.
most welcome. You know, and to match what I just shown, I've got another earring. I make jewelry as well, and I've been on a jewelry making course.
Mhm.
Ooh, you know, I do all these things, and I don't know why I do them.
Yeah.
10 years ago,
Thank you.
I was thinking, why are you doing a jewelry making course? You know, creative jewelry. What you're going to do with it? But then sometimes you do things and you actually don't know why you do it. But then down the road,
Together. Yeah.
yeah. And so actually accessorize, and I make belts as well.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen them. I've seen them on Instagram. You got a
yeah,
few of us modeling,
yes,
which is awesome.
yes.
It's absolutely awesome.
And that was from another sister because she requested belt. She wanted a belt to match her nanny wrap. So she wanted
Yes.
the belt, not the earrings. And so I gave it a go. I'd never made a belt before, and it came out phenomenal. And, you know, it just showed that when you just dive in, give it a go, you can do it. You
That's
can do
it.
it. You can believe in yourself.
That's it. That's it. Just want to thank Brother Edward. Thank you for your comments, brother. He says that very stylish and cute. And also that breaking generational curses and making a brighter future. So continual improvement, all praise is due to Allah. And that is, you know, that's exactly what you're doing. You're making it seem very easy, and no doubt it is, you know, when you just apply yourself to something. And we don't have much of an excuse nowadays because, like you said, like you can go on the internet and be able to find out how to do whatever it is you're trying to figure out. So that's really good. That's really good.
No one in my family sews. No one in the
Say
family
that again.
sews. No one in my family sews. I'm the only one.
There you go. You're starting something there. You know, it's funny because I've made a podcast, another podcast series. It's self-love sessions, and you can find it on Apple and Spotify and all of the other streaming platforms. And in there, I was discussing about, you know, what you want to leave behind, who you want to become. And I've always imagined it like, you know, just down the wheel of time, there'll be this relative of mine looking to find out, you know, more about their family, you know, and connect. And I said, when they come to my branch, there's certain things I want them to be able to see, you know, when it comes to being successful and whatever you were able to, you know, establish on this earth to make a mark and impact. And this is what you're doing in working alongside your grandson and being the first, as you said, in your family to be able to sew. But look what you're doing with your sewing, you know, so on your branch, this is going to come up for someone to see what you were able to add to your family, you know, and it's part of their inheritance and part of them. So it's really, really, really awesome. Like you just can't underestimate these things, you know, can't underestimate these things at all. So we will be giving details of how you can purchase some of these wonderful items that you have, Audrey, won't we? Currently available via Instagram. I understand, and we'll give all the details a bit later. So on to the next question. I think we might actually go for a break because this one, I think we're going to be talking on for a little while. It's to do with forgiveness. And this isn't the first time this week I've actually come across this subject matter, but we're going to go into it. So what I'm going to ask the audience to do is to share out this podcast, okay? Because we're going to be back in 2 minutes time to go into the next question, which is to do with the art of forgiveness and our healing process and the connection with that. So we'll see you on the other side of this short break.
It's great you're enjoying the show. Are you a COVID conqueror? Are you thriving personally or by serving your community during this pandemic? If this is you and you want to inspire others by sharing your story on the COVID Conqueror series, apply now. Send an email to aishampodcast@yahoo.com. Oh, and remember to share this podcast with those you know it will help. Now, back to the interview.
Welcome back to COVID Conquerors with Aisha Mohammed on the Aisha Mohammed podcast. And I'm joined today with Audreia Josephs. She is an absolutely phenomenal sister. She's just been sharing with us how she was able to establish her own business, Nanny Wraps, during the pandemic. She's also a life coach as well as a public speaker. So we're going to go on to the next question. Now, the pandemic has taught many of us some very valuable lessons. And when left alone, a lot of people have been in isolation, all kind of things come up, and make you have to look into yourself and question, what is this life about? And where am I going? And what am I doing? And what really matters? And on that journey, the topic of forgiveness can come up. So as a life coach that teaches the art of forgiveness, can you give us some insight into forgiveness and how you work with your clients when it comes to forgiveness and the benefits that it can bring once we open up ourselves to forgive?
Yeah, forgiveness. I usually say to people, it's not the most glamorous of conversations for some people. It's not the pretty self-love and the airy-fairy anything. I tell people, the people that I'm working with, we are going to get our Wellingtons, or if you're in the States, galoshes, and we are going to dig deep. Because you see, forgiveness is the foundation, the underpinning of anything else that you're working with. And forgiveness starts with yourself. I recognized that the power of forgiveness when I had gone through so many different things in my life journey, being a battered child for 10 years, sexually abused, emotionally, mentally. There were so many different things that I never even considered that I would ever forgive. But I was blessed for this gift to come within me. And ever since it happened, I wanted to share the gift, to break it down for other people to understand in its most simplistic way. And so forgiveness starts with the self, you. No matter what's happened in life, no matter how you view things, no matter what's gone on, it starts with yourself. Because I recognize that, in fact, I was reading a book today and it was talking about negatives, looking at things from negative and positive aspects. And we base those things based upon our life experiences. But if we look at some things, what we would consider being bad, and negative in your life, sometimes is the very thing that has propelled you forward, that has opened a new experience in your life. And so I've come to the place where, don't get me wrong, there are times when I will say bad, good, but really the core of myself is that I recognize that it just is. Things just are. And the situations that I've been through, they've brought me to this place, or I would never be speaking about forgiveness, and I wouldn't be sharing what I consider an innate gift with the world if I hadn't gone through those situations. And so for me, forgiveness is first forgiving yourself for believing that you're not powerful being on this planet. Forgive yourself for not knowing that you are love personified. That is the first forgiveness, is for believing the lies. Then once you get to the place where you can forgive yourself, not that you've done anything wrong, it's just that the world tells you so much that's not true, and we buy into it. And so when I started releasing those things, everything else was easier to forgive. And so even the things that I thought I would never forgive, I started looking at them from different aspects. Instead of just looking at it in a linear way, it became like a tree where I would look at it from underneath, up, down, round the branches, and so I could release it. And then I also recognized that with forgiveness, yeah, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people say to me, how can I forgive this? They did this to me. This was heinous. This, and I say it depends on the level of peace that you want in your life,
Mm-hmm.
because to not forgive is, for me personally, is to always remember something that it's like a revolving door. And when you're in that perpetual state, I say
Mm-hmm.
unforgiveness causes a lot of disease.
That's right. This
It
is,
causes a
yeah.
lot of illnesses, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't connect the two things together. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mental illnesses out there because of the lack of ability to let things go. Now, I'm not saying that these things happen overnight, but what I'm saying is just the very thought of forgiveness, because I didn't know that I would forgive the things that I forgave. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to be sexually abused as an 8-year-old child,
Mm-hmm.
and then to grow up as a woman and recognize that you'd been in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a difficult thing to
Mm-hmm.
forgive at the time, I thought. But
Yeah.
then when I started realizing that self-forgiveness started with loving me,
Mm-hmm.
because I never saw the beauty of myself because I was so tied up in the unforgiveness. But
Mm-hmm.
the greatest fuel that I got within myself was to release myself from those things that they didn't have power over me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt powerful when I recognized the fact that I had the power to release and cut those things out of my life. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it wasn't the easiest things to do, but when I made my mind up, it became easier.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. I like how you spent the time to look at it from the many different angles, because sometimes we do have or can fall into the pattern of just being stuck and fixated, um, which doesn't allow us to fully see, um, the fact that some things do actually work for good in the long run. So that's awesome. I mean, what would you say to somebody who's maybe struggling to forgive? What words of encouragement would you give?
Words of encouragement would be the greatest gift you can give to yourself and the world is
Mm-hmm.
to release what doesn't serve you,
Mm-hmm.
to not hold on to it. I used to hold on to every single thing as if it was a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, woe is me because this is what they did to me, and I'm not moving forward because this is what they did to me. I'm not able to do that because they did this to me. When I
Mm-hmm.
released that, I gained wings and I was able to fly. Now, I'm not sitting here as Saint Audrey,
Mm-hmm.
because there are still some things that when I go in the archives of my mind can still, I look back and I call them echoes.
Mm-hmm.
You say to yourself, I've forgiven this. And then all of a sudden you remember it and you feel angry again. And then you say, I've forgiven it. So why? I've had situations like that. But they come to teach me that forgiveness is like an onion. It has different layers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're healing on different levels.
Yeah, it's not abracadabra.
No, no,
Yeah,
no. There's
takes
work to
time.
it. There's work to it, and you need an arsenal of tools. It's affirmations, it's prayer, it's meditation, it's visualization, it's writing, it's journaling, it's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds. And the best of times, it's putting music on and dancing it out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not an overnight miracle thing, but the thing about it is the greatest gift is a made up mind, a
That's
made
the
up
one.
mind to even try. A
Mm-hmm.
made up mind, you're halfway there
Mm-hmm.
with a
There's
made up
nothing
mind.
more powerful than that made up mind. Once we decide that we're going to do it, that's the first step. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so helpful to me, and I hope that is helpful to our listening audience as well. Now, your accomplishments are vast, and they include working for the benefit of prisoners and their families. I wanted you to tell us some more about that.
Okay, so I had my own personal encounter with the judicial system, and so
Okay.
it caused me to realize that there was a gap, especially when it came to women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in 1998, I became a volunteer working with Prison Link.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst at Prison Link, I was asked um, we received funding, another young lady and myself. We received
Mm-hmm.
some funding whilst we were at Prison Link, and we set up a project called the Rose Project, and it was we supported the families of people who were in prison. That
Mm-hmm.
was in 1998, and I'm really honored to say that Prison Link, 20 odd years later, has still got that project running. And, that just gives me so much joy to know the
Mm-hmm.
Rose Project is still there. And um, I recognize that women, especially women, um, were left out of a lot of what was happening. There wasn't at the time a lot of stuff for men. There were things there, but there definitely was nothing there for women. And I
Mm-hmm.
firmly believe that if you motivate and empower women, let them know their power from within, it
Mm-hmm.
can stop this vicious cycle. And I'm living proof of that. My
Mm-hmm.
story is very, very long, and I actually I'm in a chapter of a book called the Pain to Purpose,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
that story is in there.
That's a popular book title, actually. A fortnight
Yeah,
ago, I had Brother Marcus, and he has a book also, Pain
Pain to
to
Purpose.
Purpose, Thriving with
Yeah,
HIV. That's the title of his book.
yeah.
So
I,
pain definitely has some purpose, but continue.
yeah, and so I firmly believe in empowering and motivating women to for them to know that the power lays within them, and that they don't have to go through a cycle. I think once you equip people with tools, because what happens is, if you don't know, you just don't know. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that you don't know what you don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
once you equip someone and empower them with
Mm-hmm.
another way of looking at life, of looking at things, oh, they don't have to be in the same space as where they found themselves. Once you make people, you allow the awareness to come, then they can break a cycle. They can break a habit. I'm not saying in every instance, because it doesn't
Yes.
work like that. you know
Mm-hmm.
and these things that I'm speaking about are processes. They're never overnight. It's
Mm-hmm.
a step by step thing, but it's actually enlightening the mind and letting people know that there is an alternative. And so that was my work, and that's still my continued work. So I wear so many different hats. I wear many different hats of what I do.
Well, I think that you are a real gift to our community because you're just giving. You give. You're a giver. And you're really showing us. You've demonstrated how we can use our life experiences to empower others and to help others heal. There's a reason why we go through challenges and trials. If we can just have the awareness and the desire to mine out what good there is in it and to be able to use it, to heal others, to tell our stories, to give our testimonies, to develop systems, you know, resources to help others come through it. It's beautiful. It's not in vain, you know. It's not in vain, and each one must surely teach one, and that's exactly, you know, what you're doing. And I think it's awesome that you've been able to establish something that you was involved in from 1998 that's still going to date, you know. It's still helping people, and that came out of your experience and then your desire to help others because of what you experienced. You know, that's the beauty of it, and I think it's just so awesome. And that's just one area. You also work with young people.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you do with them?
Okay, so take that hat off, put on another one.
Yes.
So I'm director with Chingos Networking, where we motivate and empower young women from the age of 12 to 19. That's something I'm really passionate about, because it's something that I wish I had when I was that age. So I put so much energy into it, because I love motivating, empowering these young girls. I recognize that they might not get it, but I'm sowing a seed, and
That's it.
seeds don't grow overnight. And so they might not get it today, it might not be tomorrow, but it actually happens. And what's really great is presently, and I'd like to say, if there's anyone on here, if you've got a young girl of 12 to 19, we're offering 6 free sessions of coaching, counseling, support, whatever they need, via online, telephone calls, Skype, Zoom, whatever, you know. And some of the young ladies, they've come reluctantly, and they might not have wanted to. Maybe their parents have said, you know, this would be good for you. And I've had a young lady, especially, she's been reluctant. And what happens is, we speak, because it's 30-minute sessions. And when I've got to the end of the 30 minutes, she's like, oh, we finished already. And I love
Time does fly. Yeah.
We've done this for 6 sessions. You know, she's like, oh, we finished already. And for me, that gives me so much joy, you know. And I actually, online is great, but I actually love seeing them, because I love seeing that spark in their eyes.
That's right, that energy.
Saying something to them that they never thought of. You know, I'm all about motivating, empowering. It doesn't matter who you are. So that's the young ladies, you know. I do that with a sister, Sandy Joseph, no relation, we're just colleagues.
Yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Sandy, she set that up. And I actually love working with her, with the young women. We teach them Black history, natural skincare products. We teach them about sexual health. It depends on the age group what we have. But we're teaching them everything. We're pouring it all out. And we get specialists who come in and speak to them as well.
Yeah.
You know, Sandy is also a beauty tutor, so she teaches them about aromatherapy and natural skincare and hair care and all those kind of good, beautiful stuff as well. So we've got a vast amount of knowledge with the team that we have. And then on the other side, I've got goal driven, and that's the boys. So motivating young men as well through goal driven. So they're motivated and empowered, because, you know, I have sons, and I want to know that they are grounded, motivated, and empowered. My sons are men now, you know, but just want to make sure that whatever I do, I leave a legacy on this planet in every square
what you're doing. Awesome. That's emotion.
Yeah, I do a lot of different stuff.
That's really excellent. So if people want to enroll on these services that you have, how should they contact you? I've got some of your contacts here. Would it be by your email or to DM you? What's the process?
They can email me. That would be great. If there are
Mm-hmm.
people who are interested in the Teen Girls Networking, if you get on our website with Teen Girls Networking, that would be great too. Goal Driven has
Mm-hmm.
also got its own website. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a new a new CIC community interest group, which is called After Prison Restorations, that's supporting
Mm-hmm.
people after they come out of prison to motivate them. And that was just about to fire off fully, and then the lockdown came. So
Mm-hmm. Never mind.
yeah, yeah. So that's another thing that I'm doing. You know, the older I
Mhm.
get, the more I'm doing. I'm just getting wings, and I'm just loving it. I'm just loving it. I'm just loving all the chapters of my life.
Life is for living, you know.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it's for. So yeah,
yeah,
you're doing it. You're doing the thing, and it's
yeah.
good. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
I'm
excellent.
making sure to leave a legacy. I'm a legacy builder, totally a
Clearly.
legacy builder. You know, and
Mm.
all of it, what I'm doing is my passion. I mean, whilst growing up,
Mm.
you know, they used to say to me, "You chat too much. You chat too much. You chat too
Know
much."
them ones.
You know what? Now I'm using that talking, 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 talking. It's part of what I do, what I do, what I love doing. So, you know, there was a
Mhm.
gift in that, you know, growing up, you know, you thinking, oh, I wish I didn't talk so much. I wish I was like my younger brother and sister. They're very quiet and
No.
introverted, you know, but now I recognize that that's just my gift. And you know what? I love doing it. And if you don't like it, well, what can I say?
And it's important as parents that we're able to tap into, you know, the gifts and talents of our children,
Yeah.
you know, because the loud and boisterous one, or the one that's, you know, always singing, dancing, creative, there's purpose in that, you know. It's just to be nurtured, and you'll be able to see the end result. So that's
Yeah.
another thing for us parents to bear in mind, you know. Tune into your child and their gifts and talents, even if some of them might irritate you and your head want peace and they're being loud, but
And
that's what they do.
I know I was an irritating child, you know, why walk when you could run, you know,
Mhm.
always doing a somersault somewhere or doing something out of turn, always doing something. And growing up in the 60s, you know, you can imagine impatient Caribbean families like, go sit down, go find a book and read
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like that,
exactly. Go
you know.
sit down and
They
read your
used to
book.
understand
Mhm.
children and how to, you know, today's parents are different because they are more aware, you know, and
Yeah.
I make a better grandparent, you know, because I'm more patient and much more measured in what I say
Mhm.
as well. You don't just speak off the cuff to the children
Mhm.
because you're speaking, you've got to speak life into the children. You've got to
Mhm.
speak life into them, you know, and
That's right.
destiny.
Mhm.
You've got to speak that
Mm.
into them. And the older time parents, they didn't know nothing like that. Some of them, you know, they were just surviving in this whole thing.
That's the thing. That's the thing that they were focused on, you know, primarily in this new strange place that they had entered
Yeah,
into.
yeah. They were just trying to survive in this whole thing. So, you know,
Exactly.
no heat, no judgment.
No, no, people do their best, you know.
Yeah,
People do their best at the time with what they know. So,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no judgment. We just give thanks because we're here, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent. So, what message of encouragement would you like to share with our audience? Some people may be finding things a bit difficult during this time. What would you say to them?
I would say, as I always say to people, to be gentle with yourself.
Hmm.
Be gentle with yourself because at times we are looking outside of ourselves, and I think that is what gives us the greatest amount of anxiety, stress, because we're looking outside of ourselves and we're measuring ourselves by someone else's standards.
Mm,
And so I'd say be gentle with yourself, you know, do the simpler things, just have walks, make sure to be breathing correctly, even something as simple
mm,
as that, because um, we as human beings, we tend to breathe incorrectly, and so we're not getting enough oxygen to our brain.
that's
Just
right.
a simple thing as
Hmm.
you know, and I'm a firm believer in and just pausing and creating space for stillness. Everything
Mm.
doesn't have to be filled with something. Even though I'm a talker, I
Mhm.
have my time when I can retreat. And that's what I've learned, because I used to think that I had to fill every silent gap in growing up.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
that silence was something wrong with being silent. Silence, you had to fill it in, you had to blah, 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 blah. But
Mhm.
I've recognized, especially getting older now, that
Mm.
just take time to breathe and be in
Mhm.
stillness.
Mm.
Nothing complicated. No, you don't have to do anything, just stillness. Just be still in yourself, because sometimes we, we don't take time to listen to our inner voice.
Mhm.
Our inner voice guides us, but
That's right.
we allow the radio, the TV, everything to drown that inner voice out.
That's
And
it.
especially now, the TV is drowning our inner voice.
Mm.
The energy that they want to put upon us is
Mhm.
drowning our inner voice.
Mm. The fear. Mhm.
And the fear, and so the never has the planet had so much fear energy bouncing
Mm.
left, right, and center. And
Mhm.
someone is benefiting from that, and it's
Mhm.
not us. And those things cause various different types of illnesses. So
Mhm.
what I'm saying is, don't try to fill the silence. Go within and listen to your inner voice,
Yeah.
because that's where my greatest power came from.
Mhm.
My greatest understanding, whatever you want to call it, came
Mhm.
from my stillness, from my
Mhm.
walk
Mhm.
and my stillness. Just walking on the grass, looking, especially spring, seeing flowers, and recognizing that life is still happening,
Mhm.
irrespective of whatever else is happening. The grass is still growing, flowers
Mhm.
are still coming up. They
Mhm.
don't know anything about COVID.
Mhm.
The trees are about to burst forth with leaves. They don't know what's going on, and
Mhm.
they're not in a hurry. They're not
Mm.
rushing. They're moving according to nature.
Mm.
They're in their frequency, and a lot of what's going on is taking us out of our frequency. It's
Mm.
taking us out of our natural space, thinking, energy. And that's
Mhm.
what there are those that are benefiting from that, and
Mhm.
it's creating fear. And so out of the
Exactly.
fear, we're losing who we really are. And what I'm
Mm.
saying is, I'm not saying that we can always do that. There's a lot going on. I too have lost people that have been dear and special to me,
Mhm.
you know, and there's a lot of distress. So I don't say it in it sounds simple, but I'm not saying it just as if brush it all off. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just
Mm.
saying, in the stillness, we honor those who have gone on.
Mhm.
In the stillness, those who have gone on become our greatest assets.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you. And you can be found on social media at Instagram, Nanny Wraps, also Audreia Josephs, LinkedIn, your name, Audrey Josephs, and also on Twitter. So make sure that you stay connected to our sister. Very talented and humble sister doing big things in our community. And I would just like to wish you all the best in your endeavors. And thank you so much for coming on to COVID Conquerors and sharing all that you have with us. Um, I am very, 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 grateful. You've dropped some real gems, and I hope that the audience can take those away also. And, I'll be back again in a
And thank
fortnight's
you.
time, God willing. with another phenomenal guest. So take care, everyone. Thanks so much. And also Brother Edward and Brother Michael, thank you so much for your comments, and on YouTube, those who may have commented, and also on my other page, thank you so much. Please continue to share this live stream afterwards. It has life. It will continue to have life so long as we share it. And once again, take good care until next time.
Thank you.
I must have set up at least 15 plus food banks.
We need good examples of marriage.
Oh, wow. I am resilient. I am strong.